I may as well finish this. I wish I could just drink this whilst filming.
I have to do this all the time.
I know. Okay.
Does it feel like an interview?
What does it feel like? Feels like we're about to film some content, which I have not much experience in me being on the camera. So I've always been the guy behind the camera. I was working in event management when I was younger. I worked in the music industry for a fair few years. I was also running an events business as well in my early 20s. You know, I'd started my first business when I was 19 whilst playing music. I was kind of just always the guy that did like everything. Events are a lot of work, a lot of organization. And I was kind of working in a corporate space as well for many years, all through my 20s. Kind of a cross between events and marketing, content, websites, and my education was into business school. Event management is my major. Sprinkled throughout that was a lot of marketing subjects. I also did a year of psychology before that as well. That was my first kind of passion. I still have a passion for the human mind, but I have a fascination for humans and for how the brain works. But then it wasn't long into doing a psychology degree that I realized I'm too empathetic for the emotional weight that being a psychologist would bring. Decided that I couldn't really see myself sitting in the chair, and I give a lot of respect to people who can do that. But I always kind of wanted to help people. I felt like that was a calling for me. So I changed, and the change was in my fascination for business and for structure, and events was a part of that. You know, I really liked organization and things to be all in their place. But also I had a fascination for the way people worked. And so events kind of naturally fell into that. I did a lot of subjects at uni that were consumer psychology and marketing. So I kind of had this weird stack of interest that was like events and people and entertainment and enjoyment and things working properly. And then in 2020, 6 years ago, just crazy now to think it was that far away, but COVID happened. And so the world, up until that point, I'd started my own music festival in Byron Bay with 3 other people that was quite successful, and we had council sponsorship and some big local companies supporting us, and it was what we thought would be the next Splendor in the Grass, to be honest. Like, it had a lot of legs. And then, well, first we had fires in 2019, and in 2020 we had COVID. And so that just pretty much destroyed the events industry completely for a good 24 months. And then after that, the 2022 floods in the Northern Rivers. So we never got a chance for the festival to have its second year. And during that period, I had to make a decision to change my trajectory of the space that I was working with. But I'd already gained a lot of these skills. I'd be working at a local university that specialised in filmmaking and graphic design and music production. SAE, the School of Audio Engineering, a great university. So I had been taught by the industry leaders and some of the best lecturers in that space about all these creative skills on top of my business knowledge. So I was starting to collect a really broad range of things that I had at my disposal. I sometimes struggled with perhaps the way that corporate Australia and just, I guess, the world, that the culture inside some businesses and the way that business was run and what incentivized people to work. It was more about getting a promotion than actually helping out your colleague and doing good work. It was more about the title that you had rather than the outcome that you achieved. So I thought I just needed to do things my own way, and I had a new, I guess, progressive mentality around that. And I had a bunch of other corporate experience in companies that I really enjoyed and got a lot out of. I was always an entrepreneur, I guess that's probably a good way to put it. 4 years ago, I was getting asked from people that they wanted help with things like their marketing or their social media or their website, just help with their business, or they needed IT assistance. And I kind of was good at all of those things. So I enrolled in a postgraduate diploma at the University of Technology in Sydney and completed a business consulting and technology implementation postgrad, which was essentially implementing technology into business. That was in partnership with Microsoft. It was kind of like, at that time, it was a new discipline. It was actually called MarTech, or marketing technology. And that was kind of the space that I was moving into. I felt like I was sort of at the forefront of consulting and working in marketing technology because I had the marketing, the business, and the technology background and education. So it sort of felt right that that's where I needed to move into and to help other businesses really flourish using technology, using business theory, marketing theory, play a really big part in, modern business. It's super important. So yeah, that was kind of the backstory as to how I started Freewave. I worked multiple jobs whilst building the business on the weekends, in my spare time, late at night, building a client base. After 3 years. Now this is the 4th year we've actually been operating. That's when it was time to bring on a team and have this beautiful office space that we have now. And I feel like this is the start, really. Everything before this point was me learning the craft. I've read so many books, listened to so much podcasts, like a lot of people do. But I really have done a lot of work just to get here, and I've gained a lot of knowledge, and I've put in a lot of time. I never really told anybody about like the effort and the work that I put in. I don't really promote myself. And so now is the first time I'm actually getting in front of a camera and talking about this journey, and it's literally taken me nearly 15 years to be in the position where I feel comfortable in having a business like this. And we do have the experience, and I've got a great team now around me, so I think we can do a really, really good job for other businesses. So that's the story. That was a long-winded one.